Precision rifles are in, covert rifles like your 10.3, 12.5, 14.5, and everything in between are out. I've had a mindset shift, and today I'm going to talk about 4 precision rifles that will replace all of your rifles currently in your safe. These are the 4 rifles every American needs to own.
Dude, I don't care about your mindset shift, but this is the dumbest thing I ever heard. I mean, I get it, everybody online is talking about precision rifles, but you don't need 4 of them.
Here's the deal, dude. You gotta trust me. I'm the subject matter expert. You can do everything with the big guns that you could with your little pea shooters. Let's get into it. At the beginning here, I want to clarify, this video is not about precision rifles, but you're going to notice that as we get through these builds, as we get past this first one, my personal lineup has changed quite a bit, and I have started to favor more of a DMR or precision rifle style build. But the first rifle I want to talk about was my 12.5-inch 5.56. The reason I think it's important to have a rifle like this is because it fits that role of having a more covert fighting rifle that could be put into a backpack. It can be broken apart into a very tiny bag. It's easy to transport. When you're running a suppressor, it's about the same length as a 16-inch without a can. So you have a very compact, lightweight build that does have the capability of reaching out to distance if you throw a magnifier or some sort of other magnified optic on top. But for my purposes, I set this 12.5-inch up for night vision, daytime training, and in the event that we would go do some predator hunting at close distance, I could use this rifle, although it would not be my go-to. Now, I'm not gonna do a full review of each rifle in this video, but I will talk a little bit about the parts that are on this. We've got a Silencer Co. 30 caliber can. We've got a Surefire weapon light over here. That's the 640 DF, I believe. We have the D-Ball D2. This is my laser illuminator. Vortex Spark Solar. We have the Geisley Super Select Fire trigger, and I have a second sear, and this rifle is an IWI Zion 15 12.5-inch, and the only other change that I made was a superlative piston kit, and I spray painted this thing. But this rifle gives me that ability of very close training and some medium distance engagements. So before I get into the next rifle and explain my reasoning behind it, I want to show you guys a new target that we just launched over on the TA Targets website. This is our C-Zone cardboard target. This is a labor of love, something I poured a lot of time and energy into. This is the ticket as you're training, and as you're working through building rifles like we're talking about today, the most important thing that you can do is get trained with whatever rifle you land on. And I wanted to take this opportunity to show you 2 little drills. So we're gonna walk back here to about 5 yards. The first drill that I'm going to do is on the 1-inch circles. We're going to talk a little bit about mechanical offset on a rifle like this, and all that means is the center line of your barrel is lower than your aiming point. So when you try to land shots close, you have to compensate for that. Let me show you. We'll do 4 rounds here. All right, let's go down range. Now that was really fast, but I wanted my shots to land on this 1-inch circle. These are the 4 rounds that I did. In order to make those land here around that 1-inch circle, I aimed on this top circle. Now, obviously I would have to compensate more at the distance that I'm at and the 0 that I'm at, but that just shows you that if you needed to hit a small, very precise target close with an AR-15 or anything with an optic that's above the bore, you have to compensate for it. Let me show you another drill. So in this one, I'm gonna do 5 rounds in the 6-inch circle, and then I'm gonna slow it down and do 3 rounds into the triangle. The triangle is more of a high precision target. So let's do this on the beat. Okay, that was a 2.72. So as you can see here in the C-Zone, I was able to speed up really fast, get my 5 hits because this is a high margin of error target. When I got up to this head box here, this is a 4-inch triangle, I have to slow down. I have to slow that speed down so I can make those hits. Guys, that's just 2 drills that you can run on this. We've got zeroing diamonds, 1-inch circles for pistol dot drills, and 8-inch circles, 6-inch, 4-inch square. And on the back, we've got other target zones as well. These are very inexpensive. They're available now on our website. This is a perfect way to invest in yourself. And then buy one of our bases to be able to mount this properly. This one is our breakdown base with our extended paper holders. We also have the cardboard base and Genesis base that work great for this as well, and even our Gen 320. So if you think this is a good investment for you, we'll put a link down in the description. Let's get back into the video. The next build that I think every American needs is a 16-inch 5.56 of some flavor. I think that is one of the most, if not the most important rifles that you need to have in your lineup. And it is also one of the most common. The reason being is you don't need a tax stamp or anything for it. So I do want to say one thing. If you had to choose one rifle out of all 4 that I'm talking about today as a starting point, typically I would recommend a 16-inch because it is likely going to be the most versatile for your use case. As you can see with mine, we have a Vortex 1:8 scope on top that gives me the ability to shoot close on 1X, but I can also reach out and touch targets at 300 or 400 yards with ease. I have a Vortex Defender CCW red dot off to the side, and that gives me the balance of being able to engage targets very quickly and also be able to take very precise shots if needed. You're gonna find some similar things as we get into my more precision-oriented guns. I always have a bipod. Every rifle I own has a suppressor host, AKA some sort of flash hider or brake that can thread any of my suppressors on. So on this one, we got the ASR flash hider. I also use my Silencer Co. Omega 30 caliber can on my 16-inch. We've got a Cloud Defensive Rain Micro back here. We go back through this rifle. It is also an IWI Zion 15. This particular rifle is just a semi-automatic. It's nothing fancy. And the scope mount is from Vortex as well. And it's still just a standard direct impingement gas setup. So this is just a bare bones, basic rifle that's extremely accurate. I can take it hunting, I can train during the day, take it to rifle classes, and do some precision shooting. This one's gonna get a little bit of hate, I think, because you might be thinking right now, Jared, this rifle looks a lot like the 16-inch 223 5.56. And I can understand why you might be thinking that, but I do have some differentiating points I wanna talk about with this, and I have some reasons behind this particular build. And I wanna also just keep in mind that this video is not necessarily about the cartridge, it's about the platform. But this one is that one caveat where I'm gonna say, if you fill this third roll, it probably should be something different than 223. And that's the bigger point to talk about here. This is my PWS 6mm ARC. It is a long stroke piston setup, adjustable piston. It's a smooth shooting gun, beautiful rifle, has an 18-inch barrel, and it is 6mm ARC. The can on the end is from BDE, so that is the BDE 762 can. It's a 30 caliber can. It has their brake and their adapter for the can for this rifle. And this rifle comes standard with the brake that interfaces with that suppressor. When we move back through the rifle, the big difference you're gonna notice about this is it has more of a precision-oriented scope. Now this is a Vortex Strike Eagle 3-18. It's really nothing fancy. It's not the best scope, but it's a really good scope. It works really well. I was shooting out over 1,100 yards with this rifle, consistently landing hits. The glass is clean, parallax works the way it should. I love the reticle inside of this particular optic. All of my scopes are milliradian, but this whole rifle as a package, the theory behind this is I wanted something that was a dedicated precision gun that could be used in a hunting application. It has more potency than a 5.56, but it's not as recoil intensive as my 300 PRC, and it still has the ability to run drills. You can still put an offset red dot if you wanted. It still holds a lot of ammunition. It shoots really well. It can be used in a more fighting rifle style role, even in a defensive situation. but it has the ability to just reach out and touch better than a 5.56 because of the fact that it's a different caliber. So if you're building this third rifle, I'm not suggesting you have to make it a 6 arc. What I am suggesting is you probably should consider something bigger than a 223, and that could be a 308, it could be a 6.5 Creedmoor, it could be any number of things. But I would say get a caliber that allows you to shoot really far, and put an optic on it that allows you to shoot really far. Because that optic, that other strike yield, the 1:8 that I have on the 16-inch, it's not as good at distance. That center dot's huge, it covers up a ton of the target. It doesn't have basically a Christmas tree style reticle, so it has its limitations. Can I do it? Yes. But this rifle right here allows me to do so much more. On top of that, if you wanted to throw a dedicated clip-on night vision unit or a clip-on thermal or something like that and go hunting with it, you can. So the premise of this is just something that has more potency than a 5.56, but it's not a heavy, long bolt action rifle. It just bleeds that realm between lightweight gas gun and long distance precision bolt gun. Rifle in this lineup that I think every American should consider, that kind of builds off of the previous one, the larger cartridge gas gun. This would be a precision bolt action rifle. And in my case, I went with a 300 PRC. This is my Bergara B14 HMR. It's a 26-inch barrel, 300 PRC. It is an absolute laser beam. So what does this kind of rifle offer you that maybe that larger cartridge gas gun won't? Well, in my opinion, this is the opportunity to have true precision. It's the opportunity to have a larger caliber, something that could put down game or defend your life at extreme distances. And I think that that's a good complement to every person's arsenal. And I think it often gets overlooked and we just go out and buy hunting bolt action rifles and things like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that that focus that's been happening in the precision long range world is important. I think it's awesome that Americans are starting to dive into it, and for that reason, I really truly believe that a long action, if you can afford it, if you can fit it into your plan, in a bolt gun is going to afford you that ability to do so much more than even a 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor would allow you to do in a gas gun. And on this particular setup, it's just a stock Bergara B14 HMR. I've got the Atlas Cal bipod, again, Silencer Co. ASR flash hider on the front. I run my 30 caliber Omega can, shocker, on this particular rifle. Up here we have the Vortex Razor HD LHT 4.5 to 22 first focal plane scope. It's one of my favorite scopes. It is in tally rings on a tally base, and then I just have an offset bubble level off to the left side so I can make sure that everything's squared up before I'm squeezing shots off at distance. So I know I said that there were only gonna be 4 rifles, but I thought about it, and while we were filming, I decided I should talk about micro rifles for just a minute. Now I do wanna caveat this with, we have a video coming very soon about taking your rifle to church, and the fact that this is my church gun. It's something I carry covert on my body a lot, and I'm gonna go into the mindset, the loadout, all the details of that as well. But it is an important one. If you find yourself like me, where you're in those niche situations where you think that a rifle would stack the deck in your favor, but a standard rifle's too big, I think that it is an important consideration for people. In my opinion, a micro carbine would just be lower on the list of those priorities unless you have that specific use case like I do that warrants this kind of a platform. And just a real quick rundown, this is a 5-inch 300 blackout rifle. This is an SBR. There's nothing fancy about this. I'll go into the specs of it in another video, in that taking your rifle to church video, but that's what this is. It runs amazing. It's been one of my sidekicks for probably 5 or 6 years. So if you find yourself in situations like I just described, that is another phenomenal option. And you might be asking yourself, why does any of this matter? Why are we talking about 4 rifles? I can just go out and buy 10 rifles. Well, here's the problem. Here's what I see in our community. People go out with no discipline, with no plan, and they just buy tons of guns and tons of gear. And so you end up having 5 of the same looking 16-inch rifles that one might have a red dot, one might have a little bit different weapon light, they might have different components. They're not the same, they're not cohesive. They weren't necessarily built because you're trying to achieve an end goal. You built them because you think guns are cool and you wanted to collect more. I'm not knocking that, but I am saying that before we get into collecting guns, we should have a prioritized plan of action as to the firearms that we are going to be building for those specific uses. And if I could encourage you with one thing, what I would say is don't just focus on the guns that I laid out. You could pick a bunch of different brands and barrel lengths and calibers to fill these roles. What I want you to walk away with is I have a specific plan for my life with firearms. And then I have built firearms to fill those roles extremely well. And then I take those firearms in that role and I try to become as close to a master in that role as possible. And that's the point of this video. Get disciplined with your mindset, your plan, and then build your gear accordingly with responsibility in mind. And I want to just encourage you to avoid just collecting tons of guns, especially if you are a new gun owner. And if you are a new gun owner, again, just a bit of encouragement. There's nothing wrong starting out with a 16-inch rifle like what I've got on the table here. You can start with just a red light, a flashlight, and a sling. You don't need the can, you don't need the bipod, you don't need all the extra goodies. You can have a sling, a light, and a good optic on a 16-inch rifle, and you can go to work and get trained with it. And that's what I would encourage you to do if you're just starting out. So guys, I want to know, is this video helpful to you? If it was, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, like the video, share it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, let us know if you have questions. And I didn't go into all the details of every build or my mindset behind them down to the granular level. If you want to see a review of any of these guns in super detail, comment down below. We're gonna be watching those comments. If we see a lot of people saying the same thing, that gives us an idea that maybe people want to see it. So appreciate you all, and we'll see you in the next one. You know, I keep thinking about it now that we're done with this video, that what I really should have done was a video where I said how I think shotguns are actually the best first home defense weapon. Kind of like a shotgun like this TS-12. You know, honestly, my only gripe with this TS-12 though is it's really complicated to make sure it's unloaded. And that's why I don't ever hand it to new shooters, you know what I mean? Like I'm really concerned that a new shooter will like point it at their body or something, and then they won't know how to clear it out properly. And then you hear that safety go off and all of a sudden,